For over 70 years, the Kenya Institute of Management has been at the forefront of developing competent and ethical managers, shaping leaders who drive progress across industries, communities, and the nation. Join us as we honor the class of 2025 at the 22nd Kim graduation ceremony on Friday, the 7th of November 2025 at the Management University of Africa main campus, Kisaju. The Kenya Institute of Management, promoting excellence and integrity in management practices.
Take this opportunity to welcome all Kenyans and our international visitors to the third edition of the Ma Cultural Week celebration that happens annually. This year's motto is promoting Ma cultural expressions for socio-economic development, and the venue is slated for Amboseli National Park in Kajiado County. And it is an all-system go. All the preparations are on course. This is supported by our county governments and the national government as well. And we'll be hosting, the president will be attending the occasion. So we welcome you, Kenyans and our international visitors to Amboseli to celebrate with us the iconic Ma culture.
This year, we're going to celebrate our Ma culture in Kajiado at Amboseli National Reserve, promoting Ma cultural expression for socio-economic development.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Kijo Ma Sintai Orgeretilang. Karibuni wote.
Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
The Far East, the Middle East, the West, and even the African continent, all are welcome. Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
This November, Machakos University marks a decade of academic excellence, innovation, and transformation. Machakos University invites you to the 10th graduation ceremony on Friday, the 7th of November 2025 from 8:30 a.m. A proud moment for our graduates, parents, staff, and the entire Machakos University community. Be part of our celebration as we commemorate 10 years of nurturing innovators, leaders, and change makers, shaping a sustainable future. The theme of our graduation is Celebrating a Decade of Excellence, Machakos University, co-creating sustainable futures.
Experts caution that unchecked agricultural expansion threatens Amboseli Park's ecosystem. Also in this bulletin, we are having a discussion on public-private partnerships in Kenya. Just how much do we need for national projects? This and much more in a bit, but first, the highlights. Kalonzo revisits Bondo. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka remembers his days as Raila Odinga's 3-time presidential running mate. Lost in the mud. Elgeyo Marakwet families whose kin are still missing following Chisongoch landslide vent their frustrations on the government. Plus, caught in the act, EACC detectives arrest 5 police officers along Busia-Kisumu Road for alleged extortion of motorists. A very warm welcome to the broadcast, our socials at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook and YouTube. I am standing in for my colleague. My name is Mchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odingo. 5 traffic officers manning a roadblock at Korinda Junction along Busia-Kisumu Road have been arrested for extortion. The 5 were caught in the act at the notorious roadblock that is about 5 kilometers from Busia town and subsequently arrested by detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Achala Simon reports.
After numerous complaints from members of the public plying the Busia-Kisumu Road, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission sleuths laid a trap to arrest the unsuspecting officers as they went about their business unperturbed. EACC swung into action and within minutes, the 5 officers were arrested, much to the amusement of road users who have borne the brunt of their illegal acts. The arrests are part of the ongoing investigations into multiple complaints by motorists and Busia residents of entrenched extortion.
Mtu anakulazimisha mpe pesa yenye hauna na mtu wako kwa payslip. Kwanza vile wameshikwa hivi, mimi nataka kusikia next ni nini? Wasemi hiyo pesa wanapelekanga wapi?
Acha washike, ndio sasa Kenya yetu huenda ikawa tutakuwa na maendeleo poa. Kuna juu ya ufisadi, waache ufisadi ili Kenya yetu huenda itaendelea. Juu ufisadi imefanya vitu mingi imerudi nyuma.
Unapata gari iko na kila kitu, lakini mtu bado anataka hongo. Anakuita dereva, shuka chini, ushuko ufanye nini? Gari iko na license kama dereva, imefanya inspection, imepitia kila kitu ambao trafiki inafaa angalie.
A 2-week surveillance operation by the anti-graft watchdog showed the officers demanding bribes from motorists entering or exiting the border town with no vehicle checks or other traffic law enforcement actions. The officers operate in group of 4 or 5 and maintain a personal vehicle on site, a Toyota Fielder, believed to be temporarily used to store the collected bribes. The suspects have been escorted to EACC Western Regional Office in Bungoma County, where they will be processed. Achala Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
On to a story we highlighted for you at the beginning of the broadcast. Victims of the Chisongoch landslide tragedy in Elgeyo Marakwet County who are still searching for their loved ones are calling on the government to deploy innovative methods in the recovery mission. Speaking to KBC Channel 1, the victims recounted their frustrations in looking for their kin 6 days after the tragic incident. This even as the death toll still stands at 36, with 16 people still missing and 32 hospitalized. Timothy Kipnusu compiled this report.
6 days after the Chisongoch tragedy took place, the rescue mission is still ongoing, with hopes of finding more bodies on Thursday dwindling. Affected families were here to receive relief food just a few meters from where the tragedy occurred.
Operations that we have done in terms of the response include distribution of food items, distribution of non-food items, water and sanitation commodities. We have also tried as much as possible to start helping with the medical commodities and supplies.
Willie Kipton, who lost his grandmother, is devastated. He says the government can do more to expedite such efforts.
Mimi koko yangu huyu grandmother alikuwa ni koko ambaye alikuwa anatupenda, ni koko ambaye alikuwa anatupea machina watoto wote kwa hii area ni koko ambaye alikuwa anatupea ile dawa ya kienyeji. Kila siku anategemewa sana.
Charles Chesach is another traumatized resident having lost his son, a third-year student at Egerton University.
I myself, I have lost a son, a third-year university student in Egerton, doing biomedical technology. Nimepoteza yeye, nyuma imefakiliwa.
Serikali wachukue hatua ili waweze kuwasaidia watu ambao wanaishi kwa milima, ili watu wetu wa pale pande huu wasiweze kuhusika na changa kama ili wakati singine usiku sikiaso.
A section of leaders who visited the affected families say there is an urgent need for sensitization of the importance of conserving the ecosystem.
The biggest problem is destruction of the forest. And we want to support the idea of the president through P.S. Chris Kipto. He has a very brilliant idea, but we've not embraced. It is time that we embrace and say, let's conserve the environment, the forest. The genesis of it is cultivation. We are overdoing it.
As an assembly, and that is why we have a discussion with the national government this time around, is that there is no further delay in making determination for the people that are living along the fragile areas of landslide. This is the time that now we are rising beyond everything to ensure that even the resources for the government is used to relocate, to settle, and to ensure that people who are living in hanging valleys are also given alternative land.
The leaders regretted the ongoing human activities along the Kerio Valley escarpment, saying that they have contributed to landslides and mudslides.
When you see this problem, it's coming from those people who are cultivating along the escarpment. There were some people who came from the forest and they resettled in the escarpment. Population is going up and they are now farming the escarpment. And that is why landslide is coming.
Tunajua mambo haya yametendeka kwa sababu ya ukataji wa miti, ama nchi yetu imekosa miti kwa miaka mingi. Kwa hivyo watu wetu wanafaa kurejelea, wajue makosa ilitoka wapi na tupate kupanda miti.
6 days after the Chesongo tragedy took place, claiming the life of 36 people. Now the victims of the tragedy, particularly those who are in search of their kin, are calling on the government to deploy new mechanism so that they can be able to get their loved ones and give them a decent send-off. Timothy Kipnusu, Prime Edition, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Back to the capital, the Nairobi City County government has denied claims that women are being detained in public hospitals over unpaid maternity bail, saying there are delays in waiver processing. Nairobi County Governor Johnson Sakaja, who appeared before the Senate Health Committee to respond to concerns about the broader health infrastructure gaps in the county, said there is a clear waiver guideline, even as he urged residents to register for the Social Health Authority. Kamche Menza has this report.
Appearing before the Senate Health Committee Thursday, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja dismissed claims of detention of women at county health facilities, saying delays in waivers should not be mistaken for detention.
State the total number of women detained in the hospital facility due to inability to settle maternity fees, stating the respective amounts owed, state the payment modalities. We don't detain women in facilities. It is the waiver period and process that takes a bit of time. And that is what we are refining. Because you find people ultimately, and you've been a governor, facilities cannot run if payment is not made. And that is why we tell people, please register on Tusha.
The committee was probing circumstances that led to a patient's death and broader health challenges in Nairobi's public health facilities.
It was a very sad incident to have a 23-year-old woman who's from Kangema but living in Nairobi die while giving birth in this day and time.
If the theater was in use, why did you still keep on holding her until the theater was free for use? Because, Chair, from what we are observing, it's like the management was just reluctant.
At that time, we were not able to ascertain the cause of death. The cardiac arrest is a general term that we use when there's a problem with the cardiac circulation.
While admitting that Nairobi's public hospitals are overstretched due to high patient influx, Sakaja cited the ongoing efforts to improve capacity through the revival of stalled health infrastructural projects. These include the completion of a new wing at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital and completion of Mutuini Hospital with 120 and 400 bed capacity respectively, even as senators questioned the timelines.
That had already been done during NMS. And then there is a pending certificate that needed to be paid, which is why the contractor is not on site. So that is what I'm saying. We already have a budget in this current financial year to pay the contractor so that he can be able to complete the project.
Now hold it there. At what stage are we in this financial year? Isn't quarter one over? Yes. Was that money in the budget in quarter one? And why was it not paid in quarter one?
Secondly, Chair, you are saying you're going to re-advertise the project, because the indication from the governor was that there's already a contractor on site and he knows the name of the contractor.
Chair, let me help the officer, because I'm the one who signed the response.
Okay, but
I have the full responsibility.
And just take it. You know, these are the things we said. We are not going to allow people who will be coming to this committee to give us shoddy answers.
Currently, public hospitals in Nairobi County have a capacity of 46 ICU units, 18 at Mama Lucy, 10 at Mama Margaret Uhuru, 8 at Mbagathi Hospitals, and 10 more nearing completion at Mutuini Hospital. Kamchemenza for Prime Edition.
From Parliament buildings to the corridors of justice into a report compiled by Ruth Wamboi. The much-anticipated August 7th, 1998 Nairobi bomb blast compensation verdict has been deferred to Thursday, January 15th, 2026. High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi on Thursday ruled he needed more time to review the extensive case record, stating the court file was voluminous and required more scrutiny before a final decision could be issued. Details in the Scales of Justice segment.
Victims, survivors and bereaved families of the August 7, 1998 bomb blast attack will have to wait a little longer for justice. This is after Justice Lawrence Mugambi adjourned the compensation verdict. Justice Mugambi said the complexity and sheer size of the case documents made it impossible to deliver a well-grounded judgment without additional time.
We have not been able to read through all of them. So we might still require some time to do that. And I am thinking that if we do it during the normal court sessions, I'll still not be able to manage. So I'll give you a date when I think I'll be able to read through all this evidence that you've presented. I'll give you a date in January. But you will not even come to court because that time I'll be on recess.
The families and survivors expressed disappointment having up the day will mark a closure to the matter. The terrorist attack killed more than 213 people and left 4,000 others injured. Elsewhere, former Nairobi County Governor Evans Kidero has been acquitted in a 213 million shillings corruption case. The court ruled all the witnesses in the case testified in favor of Kidero and his co-accused. Through lawyer Philip Nyachoti, the court was informed that the prosecution's allegations were mere speculations. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had accused Kidero and his co-accused of mismanaging county funds and benefiting from irregular payments during his tenure as a governor. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Let me take you back to Parliament buildings. The State Department for Housing and Urban Development is on the spot over the shortage and pathetic state of houses for National Police Service staff, despite collecting 42 million shillings as rent from the officers. Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Administration and National Security, the Director of Estates Management in the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, Cassius Kusienya, said that the department is facing challenges in raising 11 billion shillings required for the refurbishment of the houses.
of officers, police officers, APs, are in a serious state. Where does this money go? If you collect 42 million from only the police, where do you take it? You don't return it to them. You don't repair. You don't maintain. You don't construct.
We don't have that money within our budget constraints overall, and we even made proposals in the past. Should we increase rent? We wrote to Treasury and copied our letter to the IG then that we increase the rent by 30% to get more resources to be able to sustain maintenance. However, there was very serious objection by the National Police Service.
Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will remain influential in Kenyan politics, even in death, adding that his fighting spirit for democracy lives on. Kalonzo spoke at Opoda Farm, Bondo, Siaya County, where he paid homage to the late former Premier. Together with his allies, including Siaya Governor James Orengo, Kalonzo turned up at Raila's home with a herd of cattle, particularly bulls, in a symbolic tribute to a fallen great warrior in Luo customs. Giverson Maina has the details on these reports.
After attending Raila Odinga's state burial on October 19, 2025, Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his allies returned to Opoda Farm in Bondo, Siaya County to pay homage to the fallen former premier in style. Armed with a shield and spear, Kalonzo marched Raila's homestead with a herd of cattle, particularly bulls, in symbolic honor to a departed, respected, courageous, influential figure and a great warrior, as observed in Luo customs. Joined by other leaders, including Siaya County Governor James Orengo, the former vice president also laid a wreath on Raila's grave at Kangoka, Jaramogi. The Wiper leader recalling the tough times they both led countrywide protest.
We were in the trenches. We said resist. And I want my brother to know that when it comes to bad governance, we will continue to resist.
Kalonzo saying even in death, the former Orange Democratic Movement leader would continue to be influential.
That the values he lived for would never die with him. In fact, he's more powerful in death than when he was alive. Raila Odinga will be more powerful in death, I repeat, than when he was alive. Because he inspired the young Kenyans. He inspired the Gen Zs.
Raila's widow, Ida Odinga, saying Kalonzo's friendship cannot be wiped away.
Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka has been a friend of Baba for many, many years. And that friendship cannot be wiped out. Cannot.
Orengo said Kalonzo had proven his loyalty to Raila Odinga by supporting his presidential bid 3 consecutive times.
Let us not kill political parties. Na ODM, sisi kama watu wa ODM, msifanye makosa ya kumezwa. Makosa ya kumezwa.
ODM is a party for the people. And because it's not a cash party. Huwezi kununua watu tu juu na chini na nini. ODM is not a cash party.
Separately, thousands attended Raila Odinga's memorial service at Migori Stadium, where ODM acting party leader Oburu Odinga issued a firm call for justice and compensation for victims of police brutality.
When it came to issues ambayo inahusu wananchi, Raila hakukuwa na compromise yoyote. Hata kama wewe ni Nyasaye mwenyewe, Raila anakutakuta hata kuface.
Na sisi tunaomba koti zetu, tafadhali mumalize na hii mambo ya compensation, mutoe kotini, watu wapewe pesa.
Oburu emphasized that ODM's participation in the broad-based government would not silence its demand for accountability. Giverson Maina, Prime Edition.
The enrollment of learners in Mandera County has doubled after the county government introduced free education in all public schools. The enrollment has increased by 70% since the introduction of Elimu kwa Wote initiative 3 years ago. Through the initiative, learners in secondary schools pay 0 school fees, while those in colleges pay half of the required fees. Adan Ibrahim compiled this report.
In 2023, Mandera County government introduced free education for all, dubbed Elimu kwa Wote program.
The enrollment actually went very high. Transition from primary to secondary went by 98%, where people who have been out of school, and some of them married with kids, came back to school.
Under Elimu kwa Wote, we sponsor all our students in public secondary schools on free secondary education. There are 68 public secondary schools in Mandera. Every child is catered for fees by Mandera County government.
Hata enrollment shule imeenda juu. Ile wasichana ambao ukiwa wanawachwa ilikuwa nakosa fee naenda nyumbani kuolewa, saa hii kuna watoto wawili wanaenda kwa class wanasoma.
The initiative saw the local schools enrollment explode, with the number of dropouts dropping drastically.
Kile kitu ya kulipa fee, governor ndio unalipa. Sisi sasa atusemi sasa fee utotoa wapi?
Katika secondary school vile malipo ni bure kabisa. Watoto wanasoma mzuri bila shida yote. Mimi nikiwa naongea na wewe, watoto yangu 7 sasa wamemaliza. Ya misho sasa 2 ndio wanafanya mitani.
Yote wamenisaidia, si mimi peke yangu, watu wote walikaa nyumbani. Sasa wamemaliza form 4. Kama msichana wetu sasa anasoma form 4.
The initiative was a game changer to the locals who are pastoralists, given that the area is prone to drought.
When we came in, I told you when there was a serious drought, and our community here rely on livestock to pay school fees. Now 70% of their livestock livelihood gone. So we were looking at a situation where over 60% of the school-going children were going to be out of school. So we decided to launch a program called Elimu kwa Wote, irrespective of who you are.
With the number of learners doubling, another challenge resurfaced: shortage of teachers to complement the good gesture. The county government, however, established the Mandera Teachers Training College and sponsored students who would later be absorbed as teachers.
But after the governor announced that the Mandera County government is intending to finance 50% of their fees, we had a floodgate of students who are coming in to seek admissions until the number rose to almost 700.
So in this college, no teacher trainee has ever been sent out by the principal or the administration because of fees, because 50% is paid by the county government.
According to the Mandera County government, the unique free education program aims at making the county one of the most literate not only in Kenya but globally.
22 minutes past the top of the hour, we are taking our first commercial break. When we return, we'll be giving you more with the detail and clarity you deserve. Also, on our one-on-one session, we'll be having the Director General Public-Private Partnership Directorate, Engineer Kefa Seda. Talk to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. See you in a bit.
Unfortunately, our fears are confirmed. Hii si mwisho ya maisha kwako.
Zai, nenda kwa gate. Ai, gate kwa huku chini, huku unaenda kwa mochari.
Bila kutoka wakati tulitoka huko huyu daktari hajakuwa sawa. Ama kuna kitu mnajua na mniambie.
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back to Prime Edition. Talk to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, on X, Facebook, and YouTube. On to other developments tonight. Retired employees of the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation who are yet to receive their lump sum pension payouts will have the monies by May 1st, 2026. This is according to the corporation's pension scheme chairperson, Martin Kingasia, who made the revelation during a routine education day for the scheme members in Kisumu County. Wycliffe Okech reports.
The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation KBC owes its retired employees up to 3.27 billion shillings in lump sum pension payments. However, the KBC board has urged a solution to this unfortunate state of affairs by surrendering some of its parcels of land to the pension scheme for liquidation.
And the parcels of land that we are talking about here is there is 52 acres in Langata. That's a very prime piece of land, and it has a title deed. And then the second piece is in Kerarapon. It is 22 acres. And when those two parcels of land are surrendered to the pension scheme, we will be able to liquidate them and sort out the pension mess.
Martin Kingasia, the scheme's chairperson, says the staggering amount will be sorted out come May 1st, 2026.
And this is courtesy of the intervention of Dr. William Samoei Ruto's government. They have come in and they're helping us to unlock the impasse.
Kingasia is further assuring members of the stability of the scheme, adding that the pending court cases will soon be resolved. Reporting for Channel 1 from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
The Kenya Scouts Association has been recognized as a key partner in the government's environmental, civic, and youth empowerment programs. Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo lauded the organization's active involvement in climate action and social campaigns through the Ministry of Interior's network of national government administrative officers. He spoke on Thursday during a ceremony. And installation. His installation as an ambassador for the Scouts movement, where he outlined plans to equip digital innovation hubs at Scout centers nationwide to empower youth with digital literacy, innovation, and entrepreneurial skills.
And we will be establishing and also equipping digital innovation hubs in the Scout centers across the country so that we empower all youths with digital literacy, innovation, and entrepreneurial skills. This actually aligns with Kenya's national DigiCen initiative, under which 15 digital innovation hubs have been launched so as to drive inclusive economic development. The Scout Peace Ambassadors and our local administration can promote harmony within communities because the Scout character in training can be integrated into civic education programs that is led by our chiefs and assistant chiefs.
Let's trade into business. The government plans to train over 100,000 public officers in digital and artificial intelligence skills this year to build an innovation-driven and tech-enabled public service. Speaking during the opening of a sensitization session on the digital and AI scaling program for more than 100 public communication officers from ministries, departments, and agencies, Broadcasting and Telecommunication Principal Secretary Stephen Isaboke said public communication officers must acquire digital and AI skills to remain effective in a rapidly changing information landscape. Isaboke added that the initiative supported by UNDP and Microsoft will equip government communicators with the tools needed to deliver data-driven and citizen-centered services in the digital age.
We are laying the groundwork for a digitally competent public service, one capable of harnessing technology to enhance governance, improve service delivery, and strengthen citizen engagement. Digital and AI skilling is therefore not just an afterthought. It is a necessity for Kenya to remain competitive in the global economy. As I said, globally, the world is going digital. And while the rest of Africa might still think brick and mortar, agriculture, all these things, land, the world has actually moved on. And Kenya has always been a pioneer in many of these things. Kenya leads Africa and the rest follow.
The citizenry is all online. Everything is online. So how then are we able to capacity build ourselves so that we can be able to quickly respond to their needs urgently And remember, this is also an era of a lot of misinformation, and this misinformation must be acted upon quickly. If that does not happen, then it turns into a crisis.
From digital skilling to tea prices, Agriculture and Livestock Development Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has cautioned political leaders against turning tea prices into a regional political contest. The CS says challenges affecting the tea sector are technical and should be addressed through policy interventions, quality improvements, and market data, and not political rhetoric.
Speaking in Kandra, Embu County, during the flagging off of 13 modern milk coolers worth 77.9 million shillings, the CS said the facilities will serve more than 3,900 farmers and aggregate up to 25,000 litres of milk daily. The investment, he added, reflects the government's commitment to transforming aggregation centres into vibrant business hubs that create jobs and stimulate rural economies. Kagwe, however, cautioned political leaders against turning tea prices into regional political battles, insisting that challenges in the value chain are technical and must be resolved through policy, quality improvements, and evidence-based decision-making, not political rhetoric.
Ni hawa wanasema ni shai gani wanataka kununua. It is auctioned. Tunasema hii ni bei fulani na hii ni bei fulani.
He urged leaders to avoid divisive narratives that could destabilize a sector that has long been one of Kenya's most unified economic pillars, reminding farmers that good prices follow good quality.
We have said the tea market is also open. It's also open on the internet. Wewe ukiwa na majani yako, usikie pale unauza sio mzuri, it is open for you to sell anywhere in the world. Uuzie mtu yeyote ambaye unataka.
Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Now let's shift gears to a story we teased for you at the beginning of the broadcast. Experts warned that unchecked agricultural expansion and conversion of open rangelands into farmland and real estate could erode the gains made in sustainable conservation across the Amboseli National Park ecosystem. Ethologist Cynthia Moss says such land use threatens to fragment habitats, squeeze out wildlife, and reserve decades of progress toward coexistence. Here now is Regina Manyara with the details.
Farming keeps food on the table. However, in areas surrounding the Amboseli National Park, it is a threat.
There's a big problem right now with fences, and there's like 3 giraffes have just been killed in the last couple of weeks by getting tangled in the fences.
At the heart of the concern is fencing, barriers that cut off natural migratory routes. Conservationists are urging that Amboseli Park remains open, allowing free passage and ecological balance across its landscapes. Further, the legality of sport hunting in neighboring Tanzania poses a serious risk to Amboseli's transboundary elephants who cross borders unaware of human boundaries.
They started again, a different hunting organization, and they killed 5, and they knew they were doing something that they weren't supposed to, because they either burned the carcass or they got in a digger and buried the carcasses. So
Amboseli lost 4 bulls to sports hunting in 2024, and uncertainty remains when hunters will strike again.
I see it as a threat to the population, because what they're doing is killing the biggest male elephants who should be, and they're in their prime. You know, this whole idea that there's these retired elephants. There's no such thing. You know, they're in their prime when they're in their 40s and 50s. And they're the ones that should be reproducing and passing on those genes, because in a sense, the fact that they've lived that long shows that they have good genes, that they're strong and healthy. And so you don't want to kill off these older ones and let younger ones who haven't actually proven themselves yet.
Ethologist Cynthia Moss, who has studied elephants for 50 years now, says Kenya needs to implement land use plans rooted in science and uphold open corridors for sustainability.
I'm not pessimistic. I think we still have a good chance to keep this as a very well-functioning ecosystem, and I think with the help of the local people and the people in Kajiado who are going to be in charge, I think we can do it.
As the Mak Cultural Festival gets underway, one thing is clear for stakeholders within this particular ecosystem, that there needs to have concerted effort to ensure continued sustainability in matters conservation, to ensure this beautiful ecosystem is here for decades to come. I'm Regina Manyara reporting from the Amboseli National Park for KBC.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we cross over to the broadcasting house right from Amboseli for a discussion on public-private partnerships. And today on set, we have Engineer Kefa Seda, the Director General, Public-Private Partnerships Directorate. Welcome on set, Engineer.
Thank you very much, Irene.
I'd like us to start by understanding public-private partnerships.
Thank you, Irene. PPP is there's a lot of misinformation surrounding PPP, and I think this chance offers me a platform where we can speak to the public and enlighten them just to understand what PPPs are. In simple terms, PPP is a contractual arrangement, similar to the way we do our traditional procurement. You get a service provider to construct a house, you get into a contractual arrangement, he delivers the house, and then he walks away. For this case, it's a contractual arrangement which is long-term in nature, where particular risks are shifted to the private sector, and all their payments or considerations are pegged on performance. So for example, you give a private entity to construct a road, airport, seaport. They are responsible for the design, they are responsible for construction, they are responsible for operations and maintenance of that particular asset. And therefore that risk shifts to the private sector. Additionally, and over and above that, they provide financing to implement the project. After the project term, the asset reverts back to government. And there's a whole process on how we onboard PPPs, from project conception, through preparation, through procurement. After procurement, we get into implementations, then maintenance, then we have asset handback, where the government takes back the asset. And there's a clear process on how we make decisions on when PPP makes sense and when they don't make sense. And that's where we have a clear distinction, where there's a lot of misinformation. When you do a PPP, there is what we call value for money assessment, where you have to do some number crunching and make sure that it's the right decision to take. Because many a times we hear people comparing the construction cost under EPC arrangement with the entire project cost under PPP, which are two different sets of numbers. Because under PPP, we include the cost of design, there is an element of construction, there is a financing plus its cost, then we have operations and maintenance cost. When you compare with the traditional procurement under PPPs, we only hear of one number, that this road constructed by ABC contractor costed 1 billion. So we end up not comparing apples for apples. And therefore, when we do value for money assessment under PPP, we look at the life cycle cost from onset to earn back, the entire lifetime. That is 30 years. Then when we do comparison with the traditional procurement, for us to make a decision that we have to go for PPP, what we do, we look what would be the costing for design. How much does it cost government to undertake design? How much from market prices does it cost government to do construction? Then we look at what are the financing costs that government incur in providing that particular money to provide the asset. Then we look at the operations and maintenance costs, the way we do business we maintain our infrastructure. That cost is also inbuilt into that pricing. Then you do a comparison. Does it make sense to do PPP or we still public procurement? And that's how we make a decision. So when there's a positive value for money, that's how we make decision to go for PPPs. And PPPs applies in many sectors.
You've mentioned about being a long-term venture. How long is long? And then being a couple of years in existence right now, how far are we today? What have we been able to accomplish and where are we heading to?
If you look at our pipeline of PPP projects, where we've got 38 projects, which are in different life cycles, PPPs are not any different from other projects. We've got 5 key stages: preparation, procurement, implementations, operations and maintenance, then handback. You've asked around the duration. The duration is normally pegged on the capital investments provided and the time required for the private entity to recoup. The maximum term provided in our PPP Act is 30 years. So it can range in between 5 years to 30 years. Yes.
And when you talk about the 38 projects that we are looking at, in all this time that you're having this act, this initiative in place, how much are we looking at and how much have we spent already? Are we be able to bring in investors, considering that there was a concern that investors should come to this exercise during the initial stages?
But then you asked me about success stories within our pipeline, which I didn't respond to. Within the 38 projects within our pipeline, we've got 8 projects which are currently under implementation. 5 of them have already been implemented. They are under operations and maintenance, which means the asset has already been delivered. And therefore, what they are doing is to do maintenance of the asset for the term of the project. And these are cross-cutting from the road sector and energy sector. The other 3 projects are under implementation, and these are institutional housing and our defense forces and energy sector. So we've got success stories within our portfolio. The 8 projects we are talking about investments of in excess of 120 billion. The projects under implementation. Fast forward, the projects that we are focusing on this particular financial year, I know under our budget policy statement, we mentioned a figure around 65, 70 billion, but I see as attracting more investments in excess of 200 billion. And this will be occasioned by one of our projects, flagship projects we are trying to prepare now. It's under evaluation by Kenya, Nairobi Nakuru Summit. So we see ourselves attracting this financial year in excess of 200 billion.
Would you mention that?
And if you look at the entire portfolio of projects under PPP, we are talking of number in excess, we are talking about 900 billion, over 900 billion.
Would you mention a few projects that we have already accomplished? And I also want to know, are investors already taking part in this exercise?
The successful projects which we can talk about, we've got Anyui projects, Lot 33, that's a road project from Ngong to Isinya all the way to Maroro, which is currently under operations and maintenance. We've got the road next door, Nairobi Expressway, starting from Lolongo all the way to James Gishuru. We've got Sosiani Menengai, which is contributing 35 megawatts into a grid. We've got the institutional housing which I spoke to under construction. We are yet to complete it for it to transit to operations and maintenance, where we've put up 3,069 units. We've got Lot 15, that's a road project under annuity project, and Lot 18, which is also a road project. Galana Kulalo, one of our flagship projects for food security and agriculture, is also ongoing, where we're targeting to put 20,000 acres under irrigation. As we speak today, we are around 4,000 acres, and by the end of next year, we should have put the entire 20,000 acres into irrigation, where we target to produce 720,000 bags of maize on an yearly basis and 160,000 bags of beans.
All right, Engineer, yes. We are taking our first break on this interactive segment, but then when we return, I would like to know how far away with the Gulana Kulalu project, and are the investors already taking part in this. And what is the future? Is it true that the exercise is reducing pressure from the government? Continue talking to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. See you on the other side.
Take this opportunity to welcome all Kenyans and our international visitors to the third edition of the Ma Cultural Week celebration that happens annually. This year's motto is promoting Ma cultural expressions for socio-economic development, and the venue is slated for Amboseli National Park in Kajiado County. And it is an all-system go. All the preparations are on course. This is supported by our county governments and the national government as well. And we'll be hosting, the president will be attending the occasion. So we welcome you, Kenyans and our international visitors to Amboseli to celebrate with us the iconic Ma culture.
This year, we're going to celebrate our Ma culture in Kajiado at Amboseli National Reserve, promoting Ma cultural expression for socio-economic development.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Ma Sintai Orgeretilang. Ma Sintai Orgeretilang.
Kijo Ma Sintai Orgeretilang. Karibuni poke.
Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
The Far East, the Middle East, the West, and even the African continent, all are welcome. Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang. Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
Ma Sintai Orgereti Lang.
True love never fails. It never dies. It only fights harder.
Rebecca, just one chance. Give me one chance and I promise you this is going to work out.
Color of Passion, where love, family, and destiny collide.
Didn't I tell you to shut up?
We rewind, retake all the moments, and begin from the top.
I don't care, but for me, that's not right.
From the heart of Mexico comes the story where love burns brighter than the morning sun and jealousy hides behind every smile.
It seems that you're madly in love with him, or maybe you're just desperate to get married. That's why you grabbed someone you barely know.
Passion becomes both a blessing and a curse.
I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo.
We start all over again, from the top.
Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. Tonight we are having an interactive segment with the Director General, Public-Private Partnership Directorate, Engineer Kefa Seda. And before we took a break, Engineer, I wanted to understand how far are we with the Gulana Kulalu project, being one of the key projects in the country, its economic value and job creation. If we can say what percentage people have benefited, especially those ones in that region.
Galana Kulalu is one of our flagship projects under the agricultural sector. And as we speak today, we had already signed off the project agreement, and in what PPP terms we call commercial clause. What is outstanding is achievement of financial clause, where the private party attracts financing fully to implement the project. But as we stand, we had provisions for early works, and that's why you can see a lot of works going on within the Galana Kulalu area, which, as I spoke earlier, nearly 4,000 acres has been put under irrigation. And as we speak, I think must have been early this month, and part of last month, there were harvesting that was going on. And we intend to see a graduation in terms of increasing the number of acreage from 4,000 all the way to 2,000 acres. As we know, agriculture is the biggest employer of our population. And we do contemplate, as it stands today, many people within the area are being employed under various activities to perform within the irrigation scheme. And I don't have the data on how many people have been employed. It's something that I'll be happy to share next time I come for this session.
What are the challenges that stand as we try to accomplish this mission of PPPs? PPPs,
in as much as is what we are targeting to implement for us to realize our development in terms of infrastructure, we've got quite a number of challenges, and the first challenge is on capacity. We are struggling with capacity within the contracting authorities, but the beauty is we attempt most of the time to handhold the contracting authorities in preparation, packaging, and structuring most of our PPPs. We also have bureaucratic delays where we suffer from fragmented approvals. Within CAs, there are different requirements for approvals, and these delays the process. But we are trying to see how we can streamline some of these processes, where we engage some of these institutions or entities early in advance. So if you're dealing with a contracting authority, then the regulator must also be onboarded in time, such that when you're taking through the process, they are part and parcel of this to reduce delays when we go for approvals.
Do you think this is a mission that will be able to accomplish what it wants to accomplish by the period that it's given?
Definitely, PPP is a go-to. As we speak, we have a Vision 2030. We only have 5 years remaining. Are we there yet? The answer is no. We've got quite a number of infrastructure that we need to put in place. Looking at our fiscal space, we don't have wiggle room for development, which are capital intensive. So where do we look into? We look at alternative financing, and that's where PPP come in handy to help us in delivering some of this infrastructure that we require as a country.
At what percentage do we have investors in place?
Investors are involved throughout. When we package a project, what we do first is to do market sounding, just to test if at all they've got appetite in the projects that we've packaged. So we do market sounding. They give us feedback on what they think the projects look like in terms of structuring and everything else. They also look at our legal and regulatory frameworks. If at all there are any changes they'd want us to make, they also make such proposals. Then we go restructure and take the projects back to the market. And that's not the end of engagement with investors. Once we take the projects to the market, there are always avenues where we exchange on how we can make the projects much better and even increase their appetite for investments.
We're talking about public-private partnership initiatives here. How is the public being involved? Are they very key in decision makings in these projects?
Definitely. For any public investments, you have to engage the public. In many of our projects, we undertake public participation because it is their right. They need to know what solutions we want to solve. And we must incorporate whatever they are saying into our project's design. And that's something that is continuous. From concept, we have to engage. During feasibility, we have to engage. During procurement, we have an obligation as a government to make disclosure because we want to be as transparent as possible so that we can win public trust. Yeah.
And when we look at the transparency measures, has the government done its best to ensure that the public is confident in these projects? This, as we come to the close, as you come up with your words, your parting shots.
If you look at the different procurement methods that we have under the contract, under the Act, we've got two: government initiated and the private sector initiated. Where government initiates, there are normally relevant disclosures that are made. At feasibility, the approvals that are made, we disclose. We sign contract, disclosures are made. The only gray area we had was this for private initiatives, where they bring their proposals to us. And if you do recall, in April, we did issue guidelines for disclosures for this privately initiated after the Adani deal, just as part of our lessons learned. And what we've put in place now any privately initiated proposal that comes, the contracting authority must make that disclosure publicly in their website and even put in the newspapers for public to appreciate what is it that has come through, what is government doing. Whenever there are any key decisions point, the contracting authority has the mandate, the obligation to make disclosure just for the public to appreciate what's going on.
Thank you so much. We have been having on set Engineer Kefa Seda, Director General Public-Private Partnership Directorate, and we have talked about the initiative that many Kenyans are expecting to improve the development of the country. Thank you for having you with us, sir.
Thank you, Irene, for having me. Looking forward to coming back here again.
Welcome.
Thank you.
In other developments tonight, pension funds in East Africa have been encouraged to invest in viable startups that are seeking additional working capital as an investment portfolio. Speaking during the African Pension Summit in Uganda, National Social Security Fund Uganda Chief Investment Officer Ken Owere says joint investment in local startups will reduce incidences of capital flight and promote regional cross-listing.
The East Africa Pension Fund asset base is valued at 3.2 trillion shillings. The fund says the amount is sufficient to inject working capital to local startups that rely on foreign investments. Players in the pension fund say injecting liquidity into local businesses will reduce cases of capital flight and increase local ownership of startups.
Can we target businesses that are not listed on the market but are looking for growth capital? Can we look at these businesses? Can we invest in them? Can we get them to grow their revenues?
Owere asked that funding regional startups through joint pension funds will encourage cross-listing of regional businesses.
Get them to go into new markets. And then down the road, can we also encourage them to sell some stakes to the Ugandans or the East Africans to allow for them to participate in the success of these opportunities?
Regional governments have been encouraged to create policies that will ease roping in contributions from the informal sector.
SEF is planning to increase its pension share to the GDP by at least 30% from the current 10% by incorporating the informal sector into the saving culture.
Retirement is for all of us. It's inevitable that all Kenyans will retire. All of us will retire. When it comes to that retirement period, we need to have something we have saved for retirement.
But the guys can't save. Liar. They will save. Just create a vehicle and let them trust you, and they will save.
Kenya is keen on increasing pension savings to 1 trillion shillings by 2027 by increasing the contribution pool and increased deductions. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Plans are underway to incorporate more local engineers in major infrastructure cooperation agreements to expand key transport corridors. Roads Principal Secretary Joseph Mbugua says this will help address unemployment concerns within the sector. This comes in the wake of renewed calls for the full enforcement of the 40% local content policy in infrastructure projects, emphasizing that Kenyan professionals must take a leading role in delivering the country's transformative development agenda.
Justice, we are looking at over 22,000 engineers who are enrolled or student engineers enrolled, so that in the next 5 years comes down outside into the market to join the already 28,000 strong engineers. So I think this is something we need to really look at, tap.
The local content and technology transfer by empowering Kenyans, contractors, consultants, and suppliers will create jobs, retain value, and grow national expertise. The wealth of a nation lies in the hands of its people.
We are very confident that all these measures, if implemented, will create opportunities for engineers, and this is exactly what we are seeking when we have this kind of convention and we make it a national conversation.
Now, this is a big one. Did you know you can monitor the air you breathe across the country thanks to electronic digital air monitoring devices? Today on Take One, we take a look at how air monitoring devices work to keep the air you breathe clean.
In early 2021, the capital city of Nairobi was classified as the dirtiest city in Kenya, with the US Air Quality Index reading of 73. With a figure such as this, the air quality can be classified as moderate, according to recommendations by the World Health Organization. To that end, innovators are partnered with county governments to deploy devices that could warn and monitor air quality.
Consumers of this data are mostly researchers and government entities. Research informs policy. And so both these parties need data. You cannot treat what you do not know.
Companies like Air Quality Systems say different devices can be deployed around the city depending on several parameters.
In terms of air quality monitors, we have from the most simplistic ones, the most basic ones, to now the most complex and most regulated gadgets.
Air quality testing is achieved using various devices, such as a passive sampler like this one, that work using the principle of diffusion, using a diffusion tube that is placed into a protective shelter to collect data by analyzing different gases. Another air monitor is a UPass sampler, which can be worn and is 99% accurate as a reference station. The other is a low-cost sensor, which is also fairly accurate and can be deployed in numbers. It has also sensors that collect data through its breathers, which are then analyzed and corrected on the computer. This notwithstanding, players in the sector, however, now say there has to be adequate sensitization on air quality for air quality monitoring to be enhanced across the country.
For awareness and culture, that has been a huge stumbling block, because you have to, this thing is harming you, and they can't really feel it or smell it. A lot of education has to be done, and public awareness campaigns.
Let me explain this because it's interesting. Have you ever wondered where the smoking bans come from? Factories releasing CO2 into the air, or vehicles giving black smoke, and even the smoking ban from cigarettes. These policy directions come from data research that come from these particular devices. These air quality monitors inform the research that then brings out the policy directions that give these bans. Alan Auko, take one.
From Tech One to empowering SMEs. Family Bank has secured 1.2 billion shillings facility from the Blue Orchard Microfinance Fund to boost its lending to micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. Family Bank Chief Executive Officer Nancy Njau says the credit facility will strengthen the bank's ability to extend loans to small businesses, which make up over 80% of its customer base. With this new initiative, small businesses will benefit from training in financial management, business planning and digital literacy.
We want to continue lending to the private sector because we believe that that is what is going to spur economic growth of our country, and we are very, very deliberate about it. So whenever we access such kind of financing like we are signing up today, we make sure that we pass the benefit to our customers through across our branches.
This strong bond between our organizations and the shared vision, shared aspiration to generate positive, measurable outcome alongside financial return is really what sets this partnership apart.
The chair of the Africa Center for the Study of China is calling for green innovation in agriculture to drive sustainable growth. The chair of the center, Mtinda Mtisia, says China and Africa to deepen cooperation in technology transfer, green finance, digital farming and youth empowerment is very key. Speaking during a symposium organized by the China Global Television Network titled China's New Development, Africa's New Opportunities. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation digital editor Martin Mwanje underscored the media's role in promoting truthful, factual reporting to counter misinformation and strengthen effective communications. This initiative brought together African media professionals, scholars, and financial experts to explore how China's new development model can create shared opportunities for Africa.
The China-Africa relationship embodies not only a new logic of development, but it is one that has mutual respect, equality, and has a shared progress.
Across the borders in the world of business, the Federal Aviation Authority will impose a 10% reduction in scheduled flights at 40 major U.S. airports starting Friday as the agency works to ease mounting pressure on air traffic control facilities affected by the ongoing government shutdown. Transportation Secretary Sin Duffy called the move a proactive step to preserve safety as controller fatigue and staffing shortages intensify. The capacity reduction, Bedford added, will apply across 40 high traffic markets, with airlines asked to scale back schedules evenly.
The restrictions will cover IFR operations, Bedford said, including passenger, cargo and business aviation flights. In certain markets experiencing staffing triggers, the FAA will also limit VFR activity, including general aviation traffic. Space launches will also be restricted. Duffy added that the FAA will roll back restrictions once staffing and fatigue metrics improve. Meanwhile, Volvo Cars is targeting a long-time operating profit of over 8% in a strategy overhaul, deepening its cooperation with majority owner Geely to cut costs and enable a strong positive cash flow. The Swedish automaker last year scrapped its target of going all-electric by 2030, saying it will continue to offer some hybrid models in its lineup amid a slowdown in demand for fully electric vehicles. With most of its US-bound cars made in Europe, Volvo has been heavily impacted by President Donald Trump's import tariffs. But the company recently took steps to move production of some hybrids to the United States in coming years. Volvo Cars in early 2025 brought back former CEO Haken Samuelsson, a close confidant of Geely owner Lai Shifu, for a 2-year term to revive a record low share price, quickly launching cost savings and cutting 3,000 white-collar jobs. This also included pulling the group's then outlook, such as delivering a cooperating profit margin of 7 to 8% and generating a strong positive free cash flow in 2026, the company said at the time. Finally, China's Ministry of Finance, on behalf of the central government, issued $4 billion in sovereign bonds in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, drawing record high demand from global investors. The offering comprised $2 billion each of 3-year and 5-year tranches, priced at its yield of 3.646% and 3.787%, respectively. Investor appetite far outpaced supply, with total subscription reaching $118.2 billion, nearly 30 times the issuance size, marking the highest subscription volume for China's US dollar-denominated sovereign bonds to date.
For over 70 years, the Kenya Institute of Management has been at the forefront of developing competent and ethical managers, shaping leaders who drive progress across industries, communities, and the nation. Join us as we honor the class of 2025 at the 22nd Kim graduation ceremony on Friday, the 7th of November 2025 at the Management University of Africa main campus, Kisaju. The Kenya Institute of Management, promoting excellence and integrity in management practices.
Welcome back. Let's now take you to the counties. Police in Kabete Sub-County, Kiambu County, have arrested a 41-year-old woman from Gakinduri village in connection with the death of her 11-year-old daughter. This and other stories in the County News Roundup.
Neighbors who heard screams from the suspect's house claimed the minor was allegedly strangled with a belt. Kabete Sub-County Police Commander Peter Kimotho said the police have launched investigations and the suspect is in custody awaiting to be arraigned.
Kama wiki mbili zilizopita nilikuwa nimeongea na yeye na akaniambia ya kwamba kuna roho ambayo inamwambia auwe, kuna roho inamuitisha damu, na hiyo kitu hatukuweza kuelewa kabisa.
Ndio tuweze kujua kama hii kitu ni kitu ambaye ni shinda ya akili ambaye hiyo iko na process zake, ama tujue kama ni maneno ya imani kupitia kwa dini na vitu zingine. Tutaenda mpaka tujue ni nini hasa kimesababisha mama afanye hiyo kitendo.
Elsewhere, the Principal Secretary for Immigration and Citizen Services, Dr. Bello Kipsang, has cautioned Kenyans against making cash payments for government services.
One of the reasons why we migrated our services to a digital system was exactly to avoid some of these consequential effects of people not remitting resources. And I don't understand why a Kenyan would go and pay money, yet we have said very clearly that all payments are done in a digital way through 22222.
Meanwhile, the National Land Commission has held public hearings on land regularization in Mandera County, marking a significant milestone in the ongoing efforts to enhance transparency, accountability and fairness in land management across all sub-counties in the area.
The National Land Commission has visited us in Mandera today to conduct public hearing for objections and support received for regularization processes of 5,317 parcels.
What follows from here is that the Commission will summarize what has been received, and in the course of hopefully next week we can issue a decision on whether we agree with the objectors or we dismiss them, or any other variation of requests that we may have received.
And Mama Kenya Movement, a women's lobby group, is urging political parties to ensure the meaningful inclusion of grassroots women in party structures and coalition negotiations.
Women constitute a significant proportion of Kenya's population and electorate, representing over 49% of represented voters in 2022 general election. Their participation is critical to the legitimacy, inclusivity, and effectiveness of governance.
In Kajiado County, parents and guardians have been asked to lead efforts to end female genital mutilation during the long holidays.
I'm the last one to go through all the suffering that I've gone through, but I'm not going to pass the trauma to the next girl.
Usione kwamba tumeleta wasichana na kusema tunaempower wasichana tukaacha vijana. Kwa majaliwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu, tutaleta pia vijana waweze kukaa na sisi hapa, tuwaelekeze kwamba ukimwona yule mrembo pale, hata Mungu akikujalia uweze kumuoa, atakupatia familia.
70 boda riders in Nairobi County have graduated from a training program designed to transform them from transport operators into entrepreneurs.
We had curated a 6-week program where we take these riders through an intensive program of understanding how to run a business, understanding how to run their finances, and understanding how to brand themselves and become more customer relatable.
Pia kupitia katika sako yetu ya City E-Mobility tunaenda kuungana pamoja kuweza kuwashirikisha wengine kule mitaani na barabarani, kuweza kuwasaidia na yale mafundisho ambayo tumeweza kupokea, ili tuweze kufuta ile dhana ambayo imekuwepo kwamba bodaboda ni wahuni, bodaboda ni watu ambao hawajasoma, na bodaboda ni watu ambao wanahusika katika mihadarati.
Finally, youth leaders in the Coast region have urged young people, especially Generation Z, to explore opportunities of making a living through creativity and self-employment.
Kama vijana lazima tutake chances hizo opportunities ambazo ziko, hasa kuweza kujiandikisha katika makundi, kuwe na kampuni ambazo tenda huja za county, tenda huja za serikali kuu. Kwa hiyo basi kama vijana tusikae tu tukangoja mambo yakaja, isipokuwa lazima opportunity tuzigrab na tuzikimbilie.
These sentiments were aired during a mentorship forum in Kwale County, where the youth were also cautioned against seeking instant success and instead endeavor to remain focused, dedicated and disciplined. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
From that report by Kasichana Masha, we come back with Daniel Wakome for the sports news. Daniel, good evening.
A very good evening to you, Irene. It's been a very good day for women's sport, and that's where we start our stories, where Harambee Starlets head coach Beldi Nodemba has been named the Betika SJAC Coach of the Month for October, following her outstanding achievement in leading the national women's football team to qualify for the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Ondema's leadership guided the Starlets to a historic qualification for the Continental Showpiece after commanding 4-1 aggregate victory over the Gambia. The win marked Kenya's return to the women's AFCON stage for the first time in 9 years. Ondema's name topped a list of strong nominees that included Shujaa coach Kevin Wambua, who won the Safari Sevens. We've got Meshak Senge, who led the women's team to bronze. We've got Lioness coach Simon Odongo, who led the women's team to the Safari Sevens coach. And visibly elated, Coach Odemba dedicated the award to her prayers, praising their resilience and belief in achieving their dream of returning to the continental stage. She now turns her attention to the 2026 WAFCON in Morocco, where the Starlets will face Africa's elite women's teams.
So far so good. We have a FIFA window in late this month, early October, and the Federation has already ensured that we have gotten a good friendly for that. We shall play against Zambia, 2 friendly matches. We shall travel to Zambia and we shall be able to play 2 matches in the country in preparation to this.
And the 2025-2026 Kenya Volleyball Federation Men's National League served off today at the Kasarani Indoor Arena, marking the start of a new and exciting season. Reigning champions GSU was stunned by a fired-up Kapu VC by 3-2 in today's explosive opening encounters, as Prisons Nairobi made a remarkable comeback to beat NYS by the same margin at Kasarani. Administration Police volleyball team began their campaign on a winning note after edging out debutants Eldoret Water in a thrilling 5-set encounter that saw them being pushed all the way before they triumphed by 3-2. The low-end forces dominated the early stages, taking charge of the first set 25-21 and maintaining the same scoreline in the second set. But Eldoret Water, who are known as Eldowas, playing in their first ever top-tier match, fought back gallantly, claiming the third set 36-34 in a tense finish before winning the fourth 25-20 to level matters and force a decisive fifth set. AP Kenya, however, showed their experience in the tiebreaker, sealing the victory to start 15-11 to start their season on a high note. Prisons Kenya were also taken to task by NYS, but they managed to beat them 3-2. Meanwhile, the Kenya Volleyball Federation Women's League has been rescheduled to start on the 12th of December at the Nyayo National Stadium.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha ngoja, na kwa entry moja unaweza angukia na uspin hadi mara 3. Na ikigonga 25,000 na kufikia instantly. Cheza spin corner sasa hivi kwa star 419 hash option 4.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
And welcome back to Prime Edition Sport. Kenya Rugby Lioness France-based player Grace Okulu is expected in the country this weekend ahead of the Rugby Africa Women's Sevens Cup scheduled for the FUA grounds in Nairobi from the 15th to the 16th of this month. Okulu is one of the key players for the Lionesses who are bidding for their first title since 2018.
Grace Okulu, who relocated to France August to play for Racing 92 club, will be a big boost for the Lionesses, who are targeting another shot at the prestigious Continental Trophy, which they won in 2018 in Botswana to finish runner-up thrice after. The Lionesses will also rely on another international key player, Janet Okello, who is scouting for another club after playing in Japan for 4 years to deliver on the much-desired result. Janet debuted in the 2013 Confederation of African Rugby Sevens, hosted in Machakos, and her vast experience since then is expected to rub off on the upcoming players, according to head coach Simon Adongo, as they look forward to represent Kenya in the forthcoming tournament with pride, just like they did in the Safari Sevens and World Rugby Challenger Series.
The plan has been to always think about the future. So for right now we're planning for the Olympics. So we're trying to get the squad ready for the Olympic cycle. So it's twice the players were going to be ready by then. So it's just trying to marry the experienced players and the young players, and trying to make a whole product of players that are going to be representing the country, and making sure that the legacy of the Lionesses doesn't die.
Coach Odongo, who has been with the team since 2023 before taking the mantle from Dennis Mwanja, is all focused on winning another trophy and building depth for the upcoming events with a squad which boasts of the young experience.
Nikitoka hapa maybe after tumetrain itakuwa ya the team, so I have to go back, do my extras. If I'm bad at kicking, I have to do more kickings. If I'm bad at throwing lineouts, lazima ni throw lineouts. Kama najua communication yangu iko low, hiyo siku tu niko hapo niko like pass me the ball.
The final Kenya Lionesses team to the 2025 Rugby Africa Women's Sevens is expected to be named tomorrow, while the visiting teams are expected in Kenya from Tuesday next week. Kenya is drawn in Pool A, where they will kick off their campaign against Cote d'Ivoire before taking on Ghana, while 11 times champion South Africa leads Pool B, where they will start their title defense against Mauritius before they face Zimbabwe. Uganda Lady Cranes are in Pool C with Burkina Faso and Zambia, while Group D comprises of 2012 champions Tunisia, Madagascar and Egypt.
And moving on is that the 8th leg of the Sunshine Development Tour East Africa Swing now heads to the Power 72 Limuru Country Club, where the Betika Masters will take place from the 9th to the 11th of this month. A total of 88 professional and elite amateur golfers from across the continent are set to compete in the highly anticipated tournament, which carries a 2 million shillings prize pass along with official World Golf Ranking and World Amateur Golf Ranking points. Among the standard names in the field are 3-time SDC EAS champion Joroge Kevogo of Windsor Golf Club, Royal Nairobi's John Lejirma, Kamega's Dismas Indiza, and who was the winner of the Royal leg, and Rwanda's Celestine Nsanzuera, who has already claimed 2 titles this season at Diamond Leisure Golf Club and the Kigali Golf Club. The event will also contribute to the Safari Tour Auto Merit standings, a key pathway to qualification for the 2026 Magical Kenya Open. And from the fairways on to the mat, where the Kenya National Taekwondo Under-21 team left the country today for Kampala, Uganda, where they will represent the country in the South Korean Ambassadors Cup on the 8th and 9th of this month. The Kenyan team will use the tournament to prepare for the World Under-21 Taekwondo Championship to be held at the Kasarani Gymnasium from the 3rd to the 6th of December this year. More than 479 players from 60 nations are expected to compete in the global event, which will be held in Kenya for the first time.
is going to be a good place to measure our strengths and our weaknesses for the time being before the team will come back, and then we have made arrangements for them to go to Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire for further training, where they will be able to interact with the other teams from that side.
Thursday night football is on, but let's review what's been going on Tuesday and Wednesday, as Barcelona were taken to task by Club Brugge in the UEFA Champions League last night, but managed to claw their way back and snatch a 3-3 draw in a tight game played at the Jan Breydel Stadium in Germany. Here is a review of last night's UEFA Champions League football. I'll be giving you an update on what's going on the UEFA Europa League after this story.
Esteban coming in. Oh, and doing more than that. The earliness of the 7 minutes to go to half-time, and he sends Sanchez the wrong way. Nacho get another go at it. And what a go at it.
That's the UEFA Champions League. All eyes on that. But we've got the UEFA Europa League going on. Basel are leading by 2-1. Red Star Belgrade and Lille is at 0-0. Dinamo Zagreb and Celta Vigo leading by 3-1. Celtic and Midtjylland. Celtic just pulled one back, but they were 3 goals down. And Nottingham Forest are playing against Sturm Graz. That's an interesting one to follow. But for the 11 p.m. kickoffs, Aston Villa versus Maccabi Tel Aviv. All the wrong things to do with politics on that game. But also, you've got to look for Real Betis against Lyon, Boulogne against Brann, Varos against Ludogorets. But for me, it's Glasgow Rangers against AS Roma and VfB Stuttgart against Feyenoord. Those are some of the Thursday night football from Europe that we'll be taking a look at. And remember, the FKF Premier League resumes tomorrow. Tusker FC are in action tomorrow afternoon. We'll have that in tomorrow's evening bulletin. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us. Back to Irene.
Thank you, Wahome, for the sports bit. You really understand the football in this world, right, Wahome?
Well, I've got to keep up with it. It's my 24-hour job to keep up with anything sport, from golf to cricket to tennis to football to athletics, and very soon, Ajua.
Job well done. Thank you for your comments on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, especially on the story on Kalonzo revisits Opoda Farmer, and also on the story on the police housing welfare. Mixed reactions across the board. For more details on ad items and many more, do log on to www.kbc.co.ke. I am Chuma Odem. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odinga. Good night. God bless you.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Dosi amelala, sukuma moja. Wewe pia ndio muoga. Ndio maana Master Demi ilikupita. Demi haiko nipita bwana. Mimi najaza entry ticket zangu. Wewe hata unajua namba ya kusenda.
Sini star 419 hash.
Option. Ni Probox. Bwana finya hiyo kitu. Mfinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Nfinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Nfinye. Finya bwana. Probox kwa star 419 hash option 3. Fresh design ndani ya light commercial vehicle.